Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you. Now, before you get angry, please hear me out. I have a condition. The scientific community is in agreement that it's completely natural and genetic. For my entire life, I was confused and lost, wondering why I had all these strange desires. I thought they were unnatural. I thought they were a sin, and that I continued to struggle because I didn't pray enough or believe hard enough. I thought it was my fault, and I hated myself for it. I hated anyone else who embraced their own condition. I would insult and bully them online and talk bad about them behind their backs. I thought I was better than them and what they claimed to be. I know you do as well. I thought that if we embraced our condition, the very core of our society would break down. The sanctity of marriage wouldn't matter. Children would be raised to be horrible, violent people with no morals. I hated everyone, and I hated my desires, and I really hated myself. After a certain point, no matter how much I prayed, it wouldn't go away. The guilt was just too deep. God seemed to stop listening the older I got. I nearly committed suicide when I reached my lowest point. Finally, I broke and began doing research beyond what you, the church, and the Bible taught me. And soon I realized that this condition not only defined me, it was also essential for all of humanity. And once I learned to accept it, I could heal and use what I knew about my condition to make my life better. I feel free. I feel the happiest I've ever felt in my life. Mom, Dad, I know you're crying because you're worried about my immortal soul, but I can't lie anymore. I am an animal. That's right, I said it. I'm in the same genetic and phylogenetic description as an ape and the monkey. I fit every biological classification definition of monkey, and I'm not ashamed. I understand now. My urges to overindulge in food or other substances, my urges to sleep in, my urges to lust and have sex with anyone I find attractive, my urges to lie, to steal, to treat others badly. What you in your ancient book call sin is just a wired trait into the core of our being. Without these drives, we wouldn't have ever been able to evolve. I know that you say that if I admit to being an animal, I'll just act like one. Well, Mom, I'm sorry, but just because you don't admit to being an animal doesn't mean that you don't act like animals or give in to your urges. Mom, you gossip all the time, but rationalize it to yourself as caring. This is wired into us to keep track of both the tribe and be able to keep track of political struggles in the group. Without gossip, we wouldn't have language, but without accepting this, we can't begin to figure out how to overcome the problem. And Dad, don't think you're off the hook either. You get angry very easily and are aggressive. Being quick to anger can be useful in places where danger is all around. It can protect your territory. It's part of our reptilian brain of flight or fight. And don't even get me started on your secret porn collection you hide from Mom after speaking out against it so vehemently in church last Sunday. That covers lust, hypocrisy, and lying, all with naturally evolved explanations that you can either face head on or ignore and rely on prayer to keep living in denial. But unless you accept that, we can't learn to control it. All animals can be conditioned and trained. Our mind can be too. We can use what we know about our brain using science that takes our naturally evolved biases into account, and we can figure out how to make ourselves better. We're not lesser beings for admitting we're animals. We have spent the majority of our existence on the planet thinking this planet was made for us. Because of that, we've wiped out species, polluted rivers, created deserts, and poisoned our air. We focused so much on profit that we failed to see that we were destroying ourselves. This is exactly something that animals do. Animals don't think ahead. They react, even if it changes their environment, pushing themselves to extinction. We have to realize that we all have these traits and try and correct for them. So I'm going to say it loud and proud. I am an animal. I inherited my life from bacteria, my physical structure from fish, my fight, flight, and sexual desires from reptilian ancestors, my ability for bonding from mammal-like reptiles, and warm blood and hair from ancient tree shrews. I gained my opposable thumbs from monkey ancestors, and my tool use and ability to learn from my primitive ape ancestors. I have special features no other species has, though. I have the largest brain and the ability to think ahead and contemplate my own death. I have more patience than any other species on the planet, and I can make plans and use science to determine what is true. What you call sin is the negative traits of our evolution, but we aren't inherently evil or good. We are just animals. We have horrible traits and wonderful traits. Now, if we can learn the methods to be aware of and correct for the negative traits, the positive will shine through. I am an animal, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. I have the ability to make my own future and decide my own purpose in life. We are the only animals that have the ability to shape the future with our minds and hands. I am an animal, and I say it with pride. Because of this, I'm very humbled and overwhelmed with the wonder that billions of years produced us out of energy. And if we understand how our animal works, we have a chance of creating a wondrous future.